Russia payment systems shut down. This is really concerning to me, and people are not going to like my opinion on this. I know that full well because we all hate Russia, and we need to make sure that the Russian cats themselves are not sold here in the United States. Did you hear about that? Like they're banning Russian cats. Like you have
like Siberian tigers?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'm like, anyway. So hanging out with me today is
Naomi Saylor
and Craig Ugland.
Let's get into this heavy because this one kind of makes me a little bit angry. Visa, MasterCard joined PayPal. PayPal led the way in suspending Russian payment processing. Mm-hmm. So because of the invasion in Ukraine, and I think that we all need to look at who is doing the invading, and it's not the Russian people.
Right.
And I'm going to just get on my soapbox for a minute and monologue this, and then I'm going to let you guys weigh in. But I see all these people saying, way to go. They're blocking this, and they're, and it's literally, this means that people cannot go to the grocery store and buy food.
Indeed.
This means that they can't go and buy gasoline to go to work and then support their family. Mm-hmm. This means a multiple layer of things here that hurts the people. Because let me tell you something. Do you think Putin is hurting in his pocketbook? Do you think he relies on PayPal? Do you think he relies on MasterCard? Any of that? Mm-hmm. Do you think the oligarch yachts that they have seized is important to any one of them? Not a bit. Do you think they're not going to eat? Absolutely not. Right. This literally takes it away from the people to survive and live in Russia. And then here's my monologue still. Sorry, Craig. Here's the thing then people are saying, they agree with this because the Russian people should stand up to Putin and they should tell him that, and protest and do all these things. And I'm like, have you ever read Russian history at all? And I'm not talking like thousands of years ago. I'm talking about recent. He was the KGB. Do you know what the KGB did in his day? Come on. Yeah. So there's that. The other thing that I want to say is you didn't stand up for what you said you believed in. Now you want the Russian people to do the same. All their resources are being taken away. Nope. Full stop. Y'all have to pay attention to this whole picture. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Didn't we just see something very similar happen in our neighbors to the north?
Absolutely.
With their finances, with their, accounts being frozen for standing up to their country. Mm-hmm. So for these corporations to freeze like you said, someone's way of transportation, and maybe that's
literally food.
Yeah. Their only way to pay, because that's the design of the whole world, right? To be everything on credit, everything electronic, everything virtual. And we don't even know the ins and outs. Did they take away the cash from the country? Do these people have a way to pay for anything if they don't have these cards?
Well, if they don't have a suitcase full of cash under their mattress, right. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
is the next step to freeze their bank account so that if they walk in a bank and they try to draw cash, they can't?
Right. And who gets to decide that?
Right. Who gets to decide that?
And that's what's scary. And that's there's people that supported the truckers in Canada that still can't get into their bank accounts.
Yeah.
So Canada didn't just go after the protesting truckers. They went after people that donated to the protesting truckers. So it's a huge eye opener of maybe you shouldn't do everything electronically. The convenience is untouchable.
Yeah.
What's the definition of an oligarch that they're praising that they went after the Russian oligarchs? Let's define that.
Better pull it up on Webster. My understanding is
I'll do that.
Yeah,
you guys keep talking about how you view it personally.
I heard you say something about that they took yachts or something.
Super yachts.
So, what do they do with it? Do they sell it? Do they sit it in a barn and let it collect rust? Or, you know what I mean? Like, how does that work?
So I touched on this last week. I follow a guy that is into super yachts on YouTube, of course. And he's had these updates like daily or multiple times daily of all of these oligarchs' yachts being, and it's technically called arresting the yacht, which you think you could arrest a person. They're seizing the yachts. An asset. And they're just basically held at port. Or a bunch of them are in dry dock because it's off season or whatnot.
Yeah.
So basically, the owners aren't able to access their boats.
I think I've heard of people bringing someone would get an equity loan, right? A value. I've heard people bringing in, cars to get a loan, like a signature loan, and then they use it as collateral.
Your car is your collateral, your house is your collateral for a loan. And there's some of these oligarchs and whatnot, or they've actually gotten their yachts out of marinas, and there's a few islands where they're kind of like the non-extradition treaty countries where they can go to and not be harassed by the UN or the other EU and stuff like that. So that's where they're trying to get to, so they can hold on to their assets. And but you're such a small niche of Russian citizens. But like Matt was touching on, it's shutting down McDonald's and shutting down Amazon for this. That's not hurting Putin, and that's not hurting the military. That's hurting the everyday Russians that, from what I've seen, aren't really supporting what's happening anyway.
That's going to actually give more support for Putin to win.
Yeah,
because they're thinking right now, we can't feed our family. You better win this because we're going to all starve.
And screw the U.S. and the U.S. companies because you're pushing for us to starve.
That's my opinion. Whatever, because
make friends, not enemies.
Right. So here's what the definition would be. So an oligarchy is where you'd have to start, which is the government by a few. So a government in which a small group exercises control, especially for corrupt or selfish purposes, right? So an oligarch would be a member of an oligarchy. So that's so a small group exercises control for selfish purposes or for corruption.
So then who is in charge at Visa that said this is the way to go?
So then I want to back up even further, back to the truckers that we were talking about in Canada. So is Trudeau an oligarchy?
Yeah, I could like it.
By definition.
He made some executive choices.
Yeah.
Not lawful.
Right.
Not with the legal process.
And that were not a majority opinion of the Canadian government officials. I don't know if it's what the term parliament or whatever it is, but he was not supported 100% in his decisions. There was a lot of pushback.
Without any due process, without any
votes or anything. He just made the executive decisions.
Quick turnaround to how come the powers that be was that swift to freeze people's money?
Right. And so that would be a definition of an oligarchy.
Yeah. He probably
ultimate
wears
control.
Yeah.
Ultimate control. Yep. By a
just how Putin wants it.
Few people, right? And so that's the question. What is it going to do to seize these people's property, and what's it going to do to? It doesn't do anything. They're going to still do the oligarchying. And the people are going to not eat. And like I said, they're going to start supporting it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they need to eat.
Yeah, they're going to go
join
fight for the Russian army so they can get food.
Absolutely.
I've got a great friend from Germany, and he grew up in East Germany as a young adult. And he had, the lines where you go to the store and it was just like what's about to happen to these people.
Yeah.
And so decades later, he comes to the U.S. and he goes to hotels, and it's like there's bowls of fruit everywhere and there's food everywhere the eye can see. And he just felt like he walked in, he would joke like a Disneyland or a Disney World, because it's like, so
it's abundant.
It's abundant. And, when you take away, did you mention McDonald's? I think they decided to stop operations at all of those places. Well, that doesn't just stop someone's ability to buy food there, but all the people working there, do they get paid still? I mean, I think they say but how long? will they do that?
Right.
Because you've got 800 or 900 McDonald's, and each one of them employs 40, 60, 80, 100 people. Mm-hmm. So that's several thousand or 10,000 Russians now out of a job.
Right.
Because McDonald's is, I don't know if you would call it gaslighting or whatever fancy term you want to use, but
virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the way I look at it.
But McDonald's closing is not going to affect Putin.
Yeah.
One iota.
Well, McDonald's.
Then you better start closing down in China, and Saudi Arabia, and Dubai,
and anywhere else.
and right, all of those things, because that is definitely a virtue signal.
Same rules just aren't applying everywhere, and it's kind of goofy. And if McDonald's even promises to pay their workers that they lay off temporarily, who's to say that the government will allow that to keep going, right?
If they can't get the money because they can't access their bank accounts, or their MasterCard or whatever.
Yep, exactly. So what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen, but one of the things that could happen is, let's say, they strike a deal, Putin withdraws, all that kind of stuff. Do you think McDonald's is coming back?
Yeah, there's too much money for them to lose. It's all about the money.
For Putin.
For McDonald's.
No, I'm not talking about McDonald's. You think Putin's going to allow McDonald's?
Oh, because of the stance they took.
Because guess what McDonald's did? McDonald's cut him off
to
the taxes.
They became enemies.
Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that is definitely one of the things that could happen.
Possibility.
So that snowball that we're going to stand up and we're not going to allow McDonald's to be, paying his taxes. Oh, by the way, the U.S. is still buying oil from them. Last I checked.
It becomes of our oil comes from.
Yeah. It becomes like they're woke,
Yeah, exactly. And so then it is alarming to me, because after we decided to talk about this, the Biden administration issues an executive order, which executive orders are not supposed to be done other than in like emergencies, issues an executive order on cryptocurrencies.
Oh, great.
Because it's unregulated and he's uncomfortable with
exactly.
And so there's the whole point of cryptocurrency.
Yep.
So that people, no one can use crypto?
I don't know, because this article was written this morning. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I haven't read the whole thing. It says a lot of fancy words that say absolutely nothing. But they put a bunch of fancy words together. Here's the bullet point of it. Mm-hmm. Protecting consumers and investors. Now, didn't we just talk about their one company? So now the government is going to be able to shut down crypto out of the guise of protecting consumers.
Wow.
Yep. And because that was the loophole.
See, this is a social credit score
in
like China.
That's right.
That's exactly what this is. Mm-hmm. They're going to mitigate illicit finance. In other words, they say directing an unprecedented focus of coordinating action across all relevant U.S. government agencies to mitigate these risks. What did that just say? It said nothing other than that they're going to take control. Mm-hmm.
Approved ways of paying and not paying.
Yeah.
This was the loophole that people got around to support the truckers, because the Canadian government was locking down the banks. The Ukraine
people too.
Right. The government was locking down the banks and said, nope, you can't, we're shutting off your bank accounts. All right, we found that loophole, cryptocurrency.
Yeah. And where crypto was invented, so Bitcoin obviously is the where it started really. That started out of when? Do you know?
I can't recall.
Yeah, so same policies the Obama administration put into place in the financial crisis of 2008 and 2009 and stuff. That's when it was invented, and that's when they came up with it, because it hurt all. So the government, the Obama administration, came in and said, hey, we think that this shouldn't fail, but this can.
Wow.
We decide, and that's where that's where crypto started, because people were starving. People were losing jobs. They had no money. All their, all of these things. That's how it started, so that this wouldn't and couldn't happen on that kind of scale.
So here's a rabbit hole. Obviously, Elon Musk is not a fan of our president, yet Tesla is accepting cryptocurrency for buying cars. And there have actually been houses purchased with cryptocurrency.
Supposedly they stopped doing that a little while ago. I'd have to look at that, but I read something. Yeah, I read something that they were going to be stopping. I can't remember. It might have been One Direction. In other words, they might have been accepting crypto, but they were not paying in crypto. Something like that, I think. But there's a little bit of nuance to that. It's not quite that straightforward. Yeah.
Okay. But interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure.
So that to me says, well, keep an eye on Elon.
Well, and don't we have these military operations set up so that it leaves the people out of it, but they're involving everybody, and it's so drastically, and it's terrible,
How do you mean?
What I'm saying is like shutting down people's way of life, to
what I hear you what I hear you say is that the working class people that are literally going in every day and working for their family, trying to, they're going to the farms, they're feeding the pigs, and they're taking the paycheck home, and their paycheck goes direct deposit into a bank that then now they have a Visa that they pay or whatever else. That ability to do that is being taken away. So now they can't go to the grocery store. That's kind of what I hear you say. Is that
yes, because it should. I mean,
it's probably more words than I needed to use.
No, it's good. We haven't had war in our soil, right, for a long time. There's a different kind of war going on, but it's like, I couldn't imagine being told you can't use your cards or your money to finish out things,
I can understand if they take line of credit away.
Sure.
I can, someone has a $10,000 line of credit on their Visa, and Visa says, we're not going to give you the credit, but if it's paid off or whatever else. But a lot of these Visa processing is directly connected to bank accounts.
Yes.
My debit card.
Yes.
My card is a debit card that is directly connected to my bank account.
Right.
And guess who it is? It's Visa.
Yeah. So in the policies for these cards, the Visa, MasterCard, is there some agreement, like a line in the fine print that said that they agree to let their account be frozen in a time of war?
I don't know. There's
terms
probably
and conditions.
You know what I mean in the terms, and I asked that. I questioned many places, even in the last couple of years, wherever I go. I said, "Well, is that in your? Show me where in the store policy it says you get to decide that I have to do this to come in here and purchase things." So
that's a good question. It's a very very good question.
Did they hide it somewhere, or
Have you met anybody that's actually read terms and conditions on a credit card? Or
attorneys,
phone, or that's written by attorneys for attorneys,
right?
Yeah,
and maybe that's where we haven't slowed down enough to read some of those things before we agreed to open a certain card or sign on the dotted line.
Yeah.
So
scary.
These I cannot. I've talked to just a small handful of people about this directly. No one's been able to convince me that this is a good thing for the people of Russia. And nobody's been able to convince me that this hurts Putin in any fashion.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna.
Isn't there a book that's called, is it The Art of War?
Yes.
Okay. And
yes.
Is that like from the playbook, or is that from, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like, I don't know what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought there. But
well, Putin doesn't give the military the credit card and say, here's your Visa, go fill up your tank.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just not happening.
No.
Yeah.
Literally fill up your tank. Yeah.
Tank
in your tank. Yeah.
So at the end of this article that is talking about this subject, it said cross-border transactions are not expected to work. So are you a prisoner to your country then?
Right.
Absolutely.
You can't leave.
Yeah.
You can't flee.
That's
you
an
can't,
interesting fact, too.
Can you go to the bank and empty out your account and get rubles so you can walk across the border?
Yeah. I mean,
I doubt it.
That's a good point.
they freeze the money. You can't go anywhere. If you need to seek asylum.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's what we're allowing everyone to do everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that kind of a trend? Hashtag seek asylum.
Right.
Doubtful in Russia.
Boy,
All
that's
matter too.
Yeah.
I would want to be able to get rescued or flee if I had to flee.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a go bag.
Right.
Yeah.
Bug out bag.
But
Yeah.
these people are being imprisoned in their country if that's the only way. And then someone might say, well, you should have planned ahead. Okay.
Well, maybe they did plan ahead and they had a bank account that had, and whatever. I mean, we could go down all kinds of different paths with it.
That's right.
But we can't know what any of them were trying to do or thinking or any of it.
Yeah.
And people are literally being imprisoned for speaking out against Putin.
Yeah. And like I said in my monologue, I think that's hilarious right now for all these people that are saying these Russian people should stand up to, and I'm like,
they can't.
Some people,
they can't.
Yeah.
And those people that are saying this and posting this stuff online
didn't want us to hear.
Didn't want the Canadians to stand up. And this is, yes, it's not a war, but it could have easily led to a war. And if you don't call the culture war a war, you're sadly mistaken.
Well, it's a war.
It's a war for our Constitution of the United States right now. I fully believe
without
that.
bullets flying.
Without bullets. Let me just say that openly. I really believe that's in process.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. The irony is deafening. Arm the Ukrainians so they can fight back. But you can't have your own firearms.
Yeah.
The number two amendment in our Constitution was to protect the First Amendment.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's. I think I said it a few different times. I said it like this. I said the Second Amendment was put in place in case the First Amendment didn't work out
or was threatened,
which is just
same thing.
It doesn't work out, but
right.
So
good for not good for us, but good for them, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I joke about over these, in my life, but definitely the last couple of years, as I keep saying. But if people just could figure out how to read the U.S. Constitution and understand what it actually means, like are they just illiterate? Are they, how do you not just read it? It's so simple to me.
But there's people that don't want it.
Right.
There are quite literally people that want to tear it up.
Yeah.
They want an oligarchy.
And it's debate me.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the best documents written by some of the smartest people ever in this world.
There's no loopholes. Yeah. It's very definitive.
It's very cut and dry.
It's not a situation ethics statement.
It's not the heat of the moment document.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was a very long process. That's a good way. I'm going to end it like this. You said debate me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to debate. No, just kidding. I know. Look, let me say this. If you have a comment on this, don't be shy. Reach out to me personally. I will respond to you if you DM me. I'm not great at returning comments because comments generally mean that you're wanting that thumb war, and I'll have a conversation with you. I've talked to many people over the phone that have sent me a message that have differing views than I do, and that's fantastic. None of us have become friends yet, and that's okay. But we also haven't become enemies. We've understood each other a lot better. So you don't like what I have to say here? I'm giving you this invitation. In fact, come down, let's turn a camera on, debate me. See you next time.